How did I get here? That's the first question I asked myself when everything I'd built, everything I'd loved, seemed to slip away in the blink of an eye. I remember sitting in the massive living room of our Beverly Hills mansion, gazing out the window at the twinkling city lights below, wondering how life had gone from perfect to painful in such a short span. I had everything: the house, the business, and the man who, for years, I thought was my partner, my protector, my love. But in the end, it was all a lie. The clock on the wall ticked ominously. It was a cold, crisp December evening, the night everything changed. Christmas was just around the corner. Most people were preparing for family gatherings, wrapping presents, baking cookies, and decking the halls. But for me, the thought of the holiday season made me feel sick to my stomach. I hadn't seen the joy in Christmas for weeks. And that's when I saw it, the email that would destroy my entire world. I sat at my kitchen island, sipping my wine, checking emails like I did every night after work. At first, the email seemed innocuous enough, just an update from my business manager. But the subject line made my heart stop. Divorce filing, Ryan Owens. I blinked, staring at the screen in disbelief. Ryan, my husband, divorce. No, this couldn't be happening. Not to us. We were the power couple, the ones everyone envied. Ryan and I had it all. He was a successful entrepreneur, and I had worked tirelessly to build my own business from the ground up. We had 2 beautiful children, a perfect home in the heart of Beverly Hills. We were supposed to be in this together forever. My hands trembled as I opened the email. Rachel, I've been unhappy for a long time. I know this may be sudden, but I believe it's time for us to part ways. We'll discuss the details soon. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. The words blurred in front of my eyes. Was this a joke? A sick joke? But I knew it couldn't be. Ryan had never been one for surprises. He was always calm, collected, meticulous. So why didn't he talk to me about it? Why didn't he tell me what was wrong? I scrolled down, hoping to find some explanation, some hint that maybe this was a misunderstanding. But there was nothing. Just the cold, sterile reality of what he was telling me. He didn't want to be married to me anymore. I read the email again, and it hit me. Ryan Owens, the man I thought I knew, was leaving me. A wave of nausea hit me like a freight train, and I had to sit down. How had I not seen this coming? Our marriage, our life together, had been perfect. I had spent the last decade building my brand, growing the company that had become a household name in the fashion industry. I had put my heart and soul into it, and Ryan had been by my side every step of the way. He promised me he would always have my back. He promised me forever. Yet now, he was taking it all away. My eyes welled up with tears, but I couldn't let myself cry. No, I refused. Crying wouldn't help me. I needed to understand why this was happening. So I got up, wiped my tears, and called him. The phone rang twice before he picked up. Ryan, what is this? My voice trembled despite my best efforts to keep it steady. There was a long pause on the other end, and then he spoke, his voice calm but distant. I've been thinking about this for a while, Rachel. I don't want to be married anymore. I can't do this. I'm sorry. I felt the ground shift beneath me. What? You're sorry, that's it. After everything we've been through, you just give up. You don't understand, Ryan said, his tone barely above a whisper. I've changed. I've fallen out of love with you. We're not the same people anymore. I felt a chill run down my spine. The words were like daggers, each one cutting deeper than the last. Don't do this, Ryan, please. We've built a life together. We can work through this. We have to. But he was already done. He didn't want to try anymore. He wanted out. I think you should prepare for the legal process, he said coldly. I'll be in touch about the next steps. The call ended abruptly, and I was left in the deafening silence of the house we'd built together, now just a cold reminder of the life we no longer shared. The next few days were a blur. I was a whirlwind of emotions, shock, anger, disbelief. But there was something else beneath the surface, something darker that began to grow with each passing hour. I started to investigate. I went through the financial records. I dug into our joint accounts. What I found shook me to my core. Ryan hadn't just filed for divorce. He was planning to take everything from me. He was targeting the company, the home, and even the kids. All the things I'd worked so hard for, all the sacrifices I'd made, were suddenly on the line. I was going to lose it all, and I had no idea how to stop it. The betrayal hit harder than anything I could have imagined. But this wasn't just about a marriage falling apart. This was about revenge. Ryan was going to pay for what he was doing to me. I wouldn't go down without a fight. As the days passed, I found myself becoming more and more cold-hearted. I started to think strategically, calculating. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized I wasn't going to just fight for my business and my assets. No, I was going to make him pay. The way Ryan had treated me was unforgivable, and I had an idea of exactly how I was going to get back at him. I didn't care about the pain. I was going to be ruthless. I wasn't just going to win this divorce, I was going to destroy him. The holiday season was upon us, but there was no joy in the air. I walked past the Christmas tree every day, the lights flickering like they were mocking me. The snow outside didn't bring peace, it only reminded me of what I had lost, what Ryan had taken from me. But this wasn't the end. No, this was just the beginning. As I sat in my office, staring out the window at the city, I made a decision. Ryan had no idea what was coming. He had made a grave mistake, and I was going to make sure he paid for it. If you're as shocked as I am by what Ryan did, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for to the end of my story. Comment where in the world you are watching this from. He took my heart, and now he's trying to take everything else. But he has no idea what I'm capable of. I always thought I knew him. How could he do this to me? It's funny, isn't it? How you can spend years of your life with someone, build a future together, share your hopes, dreams, and fears, only to wake up one day and realize they've been hiding something from you the entire time. I thought Ryan and I had a strong marriage. We were the perfect couple in everyone's eyes. The dinners, the vacations, the business deals, we were it. We had everything. But in reality, it was all built on a lie that I didn't see coming. 2 days had passed since the divorce email, the cold, heartless message that shattered my world. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. How could he do this? What did I miss? But then, the universe decided to add another cruel twist to this nightmare, one I never saw coming. It was late at night. I couldn't sleep. The house was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that makes you feel like your thoughts are too loud. So I decided to do what I do best, dig. I had to know why. I had to understand what was really going on in Ryan's mind. I went through his phone records, his emails, his messages. I wanted to know if there was something I had missed, some clue that would explain why he was doing this. I'm not a private investigator, but in that moment, I felt like one. Desperation makes you do things you never thought possible. It was then that I found it. One email stood out among the rest, an email from Emily Winters. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. Emily, she was a friend who had been in our lives for years. She was part of the circle. We'd had dinner together, drinks, even vacations with her and her partner. I never once thought to question her. But here it was, plain as day. Subject: dinner plans this Friday. I can't wait to see you. From Emily Winters. To Ryan Owens. I froze. My fingers hovered over the screen. This wasn't just a casual dinner invitation. No, this was something deeper. I clicked the email open, my heart pounding in my chest. The email thread was a mess of flirtatious messages, cryptic notes about getting away and thinking about you. The last few lines of the thread left no room for doubt. They had been seeing each other for months, maybe even longer. I never thought it would happen like this, the email said. You're the one I've been waiting for. I can't do this anymore. We need to figure out how to make this work. Figure out how to make this work. The words echoed in my mind. I stared at the screen, unable to comprehend what I was reading. Ryan, the man I had been married to for over a decade, had been involved with Emily all along, behind my back. While I was running my business, taking care of our children, being the wife he told me I was perfect for him, he'd been hiding a whole other life from me. I collapsed back into the chair, staring at the screen, unable to breathe. All this time, I had been so focused on growing my career and keeping our life together. But Ryan, he had been plotting his escape long before I even realized things were falling apart. The betrayal stung more than anything. How could he? We were supposed to be a team. We had made so many sacrifices for each other. I had built my company, supporting him while he grew his business, managing the household, and being there for him when he needed me. And this was how he repaid me, by sleeping with Emily. I could feel my blood boiling. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was furious. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to do something, anything, to make him understand the devastation he had caused. But I didn't. No, I couldn't let him see how deeply he had hurt me. I grabbed my phone and sent a quick message to Sophia Grant, my lawyer and friend. "I need to meet. It's worse than I thought. I need you." She replied almost instantly. "I'm on my way. Let's talk tomorrow." That was it. No more hesitation. It was time to stop being the victim. I wasn't going to let Ryan get away with this. The next morning, Sophia arrived at my house, ready to dive into the mess that was my life. I had barely slept, my mind racing with new revelations about Ryan and his betrayal. As we sat in the living room, I told her everything I had uncovered: the divorce, the affair, the lies. "I'm going to need all the information I can get," Sophia said, her voice firm but compassionate. "We can't fight this without evidence. You need to gather everything you can: his finances, his assets, any conversations you can find that tie Emily to him. We'll take this to court, but we need a solid plan." I nodded, still in shock but feeling the first flickers of something else inside me. A fire. "I want to take everything from him," I said quietly, but with undeniable conviction. "I want him to feel what I feel: betrayed, humiliated. I want him to regret ever leaving me." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "That's a strong statement. Are you sure you want to go that route?" I looked her in the eyes. "Yes, he's already made his choice. Now it's my turn." The next few days were a blur. I was consumed by the idea of revenge, of justice. I couldn't let him win, not after everything he'd done. So I threw myself into planning. I dug deeper into his financials, looked through every account, every bank statement, every investment. I needed to find something, anything, that would break him. And that's when I stumbled upon the first real clue: a transfer of funds from one of Ryan's offshore accounts. It wasn't a lot, but it was enough to raise questions, enough to make me wonder what else he had been hiding from me. But I couldn't stop there. No, I had to get inside his world. I had to see things for myself. I reached out to David Harker, Ryan's ruthless divorce lawyer. I knew I needed to get close to him, so I did what any good strategist would do. I befriended one of his colleagues, someone who had a reputation for sharing secrets. Through him, I learned that Ryan wasn't just in financial trouble. No, he was in deep trouble. Ryan had been using company funds for personal investments, diverting money into a fake startup that was bleeding cash. I wasn't just dealing with an affair. I was dealing with a man who had betrayed me financially, emotionally, and professionally. It wasn't just a divorce, it was war. The walls around me began to close in, but instead of retreating, I leaned in. Ryan had built this empire of lies, and now it was time for it to come crashing down. I sat in my office late one night, replaying the phone call Ryan and I had a few days ago. His voice still echoed in my head. "I've fallen out of love with you." But now that didn't matter. I wasn't going to cry or beg him to stay. I wasn't going to be the woman who lost everything and let him get away with it. No, I was going to be the woman who took back control. As the days turned into weeks, I felt the gears turning in my mind. Every step, every move, every piece of information, everything was falling into place. I wasn't just fighting for my assets. I was fighting for my dignity. I wasn't going to let Ryan win. He had no idea what was coming. And soon, he'd realize the true cost of crossing me. What do you think? Would you have done the same thing as Rachel? Would you fight back or let go? Let me know in the comments below. Do you really want to know how far I'm willing to go to get back everything he took from me? I sat in my office that night, staring at the walls of the mansion Ryan had once called our home. The glistening lights of Beverly Hills, now blurred through the rain on the window, felt like a cruel reminder of everything I had lost. But the bitterness in my chest wasn't just from the divorce. It was because I realized, for the first time, how far Ryan was willing to go to destroy me. And now I had a choice. I could wallow in my sorrow, or I could fight back with everything I had. I chose the latter. Sophia Grant, my lawyer and college friend, had warned me, "You can't win a battle without a strategy." And I knew she was right. The legal fight, the public humiliation, everything Ryan had set into motion, it wasn't just about proving I was right. It was about outsmarting him, about using his own ego and greed against him. I couldn't just play defense. I needed to take the offensive. I needed a plan that would tear him down piece by piece. That's when I decided to start digging deeper into Ryan's life. Much deeper. I was no longer looking for pieces of evidence to hold up in court. No, I wanted to know everything. His secrets, his weaknesses, everything. I had to expose him. And the more I looked, the more I realized I wasn't just dealing with a man who had an affair. No, I was dealing with a man who had been lying to me for years, who had been manipulating the world around him with ease. I had to figure out how to tear that facade apart. I spent the next week putting my plan into motion. First, I needed to get inside Ryan's world. That meant getting close to people in his circle, the ones he trusted, his colleagues, his friends, even his business associates. The ones who thought he was a god, those were the ones I needed. I began by reaching out to David Harker, Ryan's divorce lawyer. As ruthless as he was, I knew he had information. People like David didn't just fight dirty in court. They knew everything about their clients. But how could I get to him? I knew David's weak spot, his ego. So I played it smart. I posed as a businesswoman interested in hearing him for a corporate legal matter. It wasn't too difficult. I'd heard his name in certain circles, and a few strategic conversations later, I managed to secure a meeting. I walked into his office, cool and composed, as if this was just another business deal. But underneath that calm exterior, I was ready. I had questions for him, questions that would force him to give up his secrets. Our meeting went exactly as I planned. As David spoke, I watched him closely, my eyes fixed on every detail. His expensive suit, his pompous demeanor, it all screamed arrogance. He thought he had control over me, but what he didn't know was that I was the one pulling the strings. "So, Rachel," he said, leaning back in his chair, "I hear you and Ryan are going through quite the situation. Not an easy thing, a divorce like this." He smiled, almost smugly, like he was enjoying my misery. "But don't worry, with my help you'll get what's fair." I nodded, playing the role of a helpless wife, desperate to get her life back. "I appreciate that, David, but honestly, I need more than just what's fair. I need to make sure Ryan doesn't get away with everything he's done. I need leverage. Do you have any information that might help me?" David raised an eyebrow, a little surprised by my bluntness. "I don't know what you mean by leverage, Rachel, but if you want to win, you'll need more than just the standard divorce filings. You need to look at what's really going on behind the scenes." And then, just like that, he leaned in closer. "You see, Ryan's been making some questionable business moves, some investments that don't exactly add up, but between you and me, that's something he'll fight to keep hidden." I felt a rush of excitement run through me. I had known there was something wrong with his finances, but hearing David confirm it was a game changer. I left the meeting feeling like I had the first real lead to Ryan's downfall. Sophia and I immediately began to dig into Ryan's business dealings. What I discovered was both shocking and unsettling. He had been siphoning money from his company into a series of risky investments, some of which were deeply questionable. And the more I learned, the more I realized that Ryan's public image was built on a house of cards. But it wasn't just about money. No, it was something much worse. I found evidence that Ryan had been using his position to manipulate the very people who trusted him. Employees, business partners, everyone was in the dark. He wasn't just a cheater in his marriage. He was a fraud in every aspect of his life. As the days passed, I grew more determined. I wasn't just going to take back what he had stolen from me. I was going to expose him for who he truly was. The man he pretended to be, the successful businessman, the charming husband, was nothing but a lie. And now it was time to tear down that lie. I spent hours each day working with Sophia to gather more evidence. We dug through Ryan's financial records, piecing together his hidden assets, his false investments, the people he had wronged along the way. Every moment I spent in this fight, I grew stronger, more focused, more determined to take him down. But I wasn't done yet. I needed to hit Ryan where it would hurt the most, his reputation. So I started reaching out to those who had once looked up to him. The business partners, the investors, the clients he had deceived. And one by one, they began to speak out. Some were willing to go public with what they knew. Others wanted to stay anonymous, but their testimonies all pointed to the same thing. Ryan was a fraud. The walls were closing in on him, and he didn't even know it. But just as I thought I had everything in place, I got a phone call that made my blood run cold. It was Emily Winters, the woman who had destroyed my marriage. She wanted to meet. I arrived at the cafe, my heart racing. What could she possibly want from me? Did she feel guilty? Was she going to apologize? I didn't know, but I was ready. I was done being the victim. Whatever Emily had to say, I was prepared for it. She sat across from me, her face a mix of shame and something else I couldn't quite place. "Rachel, I never wanted to hurt you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Really?" I shot back. "Because it sure looks like you did. You've been sleeping with my husband. You've been destroying my life, Emily. Don't tell me you didn't want to hurt me. You've already done enough." Emily took a deep breath. "I know, and I regret it, but I'm done. I'm done with Ryan. I never wanted to be a part of this mess. I didn't know who he really was." That was the moment. The moment I realized something had shifted inside of me. I wasn't just fighting for my business anymore. I was fighting for everything. For the woman I was before Ryan and Emily destroyed me. And now I had an ally, someone who knew Ryan's darkest secrets. "Then help me," I said, leaning in. "Help me finish what I started." "What would you do if you found out your life was built on lies? Could you turn the tables and get back everything you lost?" I never thought I'd go this far, but then again, he never thought I had it in me. It started with a phone call, a call that could change everything, a call that could finally make Ryan realize that his betrayal wouldn't just end in a divorce, it would be his undoing. My undoing too, if I didn't act. But I wasn't going to just sit back and let him win. Not anymore. It had been a week since Emily reached out to me. Emily Winters, the woman who had torn apart everything I knew about my marriage. The woman who, until recently, I never thought would ever be someone I'd need in my life again. But as it turns out, life has a funny way of bringing people together, especially when there's something to gain. And this time, she wasn't just the other woman. This time, she was a tool, a crucial ally in my revenge scheme. I needed her, and for the first time, she was ready to help. We met the next morning at a small cafe in Santa Monica. The sea breeze swept through the open windows, but the cool air didn't reach my burning fury. Emily was already sitting at a corner table, her hands fidgeting nervously as she waited for me. I didn't waste time. I didn't need to. I had a mission now. "I'm in," she said before I even sat down, her voice trembling slightly. "I know what he's done, Rachel. He's been lying to you, to everyone. It's all coming back to haunt him, but I need you to listen." I leaned in, my gaze unwavering. "What exactly do you know, Emily?" She hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Ryan been hiding money, not just from you, but from everyone. He's been moving funds through offshore accounts for years. But it's bigger than that. He's got investments in a startup he's been keeping under the radar. No one knows about it, not even his closest partners." I stared at her, trying to piece together the gravity of her words. "A startup? How do you know this?" "I was with him when he made the deal. I overheard him talking about it, Rachel. I knew it was too good to be true, but I didn't think it would get this far." That was the first piece of the puzzle I'd been missing. Everything started to click into place. Ryan's attempts to hide his wealth, the way he'd always been evasive about certain aspects of his business, he wasn't just trying to cheat on me. He was playing a much bigger game, one where I had no place. But that was about to change. "Tell me everything," I demanded, my voice steely now. As Emily spoke, I felt my rage grow. Ryan had built an empire on lies and manipulation, and now I had the key to bring it all down. The startup was the biggest opportunity I had been waiting for. It wasn't just about taking back my business or securing my assets. It was about completely dismantling Ryan's reputation and his wealth. "Here, what we're going to do," I said, my mind already working through the details. "We're going to expose everything." Emily looked uncertain. "Expose him? Are you sure? I mean, this could go public." "Exactly," I responded. "This will be bigger than any court case. I'm going to use his own greed against him. We're going to make him pay for everything he's done." That afternoon, I set to work. I enlisted Sophia Grant, my lawyer, to help me strategize the next steps. We needed to gather more evidence, hard evidence, that would shake Ryan to his core. The financials, the startup investments, the false deals, everything had to be laid out for the world to see. But this wasn't just about exposing his financial crimes. No, it was bigger than that. I needed to make sure he couldn't hide. I needed to ruin him. And for that, I needed more than just documents. I needed to infiltrate his circle and make sure the truth came out in the most public way possible. Sophia agreed to help me push the legal side of things, but she made it clear that we had to be careful. If we push too hard too soon, we risk losing everything. You've got to think long-term. Make him feel the pressure, but don't give him a way out. I nodded, absorbing her words. "I'll play it smart, Sophia, but trust me, Ryan won't know what hit him." The next few days were a whirlwind. I began reaching out to former colleagues, investors, and business partners Ryan had worked with over the years. One by one, they began to open up. Some were hesitant, others were furious at the way Ryan had treated them, using them for his own gains. Each conversation gave me another piece of the puzzle, another crack in the wall Ryan had carefully built around his empire. But the most important piece of the puzzle came when I managed to get my hands on one of Ryan's hidden contracts. It was a deal that tied his startup to a series of illegal investments involving offshore accounts and shell companies. This was the smoking gun I'd been searching for, the one thing that would prove Ryan's manipulation to the world. I sent the contract to Sophia, who began to work on filing it with the authorities. It was a risky move, but it was the only move I had left. That night, I sat in my office, going over the plan one last time. Everything was set. The pieces were in motion, and yet there was still something unsettling about it all. I was about to tear apart the life Ryan had worked so hard to build. The man who had promised me forever was about to lose everything. For a split second, doubt crept in. Was I doing the right thing? Was this really revenge, or was it just the destruction of a man who, despite his faults, had once been my partner? But then I remembered. I remembered how he had taken everything from me, how he'd lied, how he'd deceived me. He didn't deserve my empathy, my remorse. No, Ryan deserved to lose everything. This wasn't just about me anymore, it was about justice. Just as I was about to finalize everything, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. "Hello," I answered, my voice tight. "Rachel," the voice on the other end said. It was Emily. "You need to be careful. Ryan's catching on. He's starting to suspect something." My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" "I overheard him talking. He's moving some of his assets into new accounts. He's getting ready for a battle, a big one." I cursed under my breath. I couldn't afford to make a mistake now. "Thank you, Emily," I said, trying to stay calm. "We'll keep moving forward, but I need you to be on standby. If anything goes wrong, I'll need your help." As the days passed, the tension grew. Ryan was on the verge of finding out what I had been up to, but that only made me more determined. I couldn't stop now. I wouldn't stop. The trap was set, and all I had to do was wait. But as I sat there, waiting for the storm to hit, I realized something. In that moment, I had become someone I never thought I could be. I was no longer the victim. I was the one in control. Ryan had taken everything from me, but I was going to take it all back, and then some. "You have no idea how badly I want to watch everything you've built fall apart, and soon, I will." It's a strange thing, isn't it? The feeling of power you get when you're finally in control of your own story. I had been pushed to the edge, feeling helpless and alone. But now I was the one pulling the strings, and for the first time in weeks I felt a surge of satisfaction. It wasn't just about the money or the assets or the company Ryan had tried to steal from me. It was about something much bigger. It was about revenge. The plan I had set in motion was working, better than I'd imagined. Ryan's life was starting to crumble, and I hadn't even revealed my biggest weapon yet. I was playing him like a chess piece, one calculated move at a time, and I wasn't about to stop until I had him exactly where I wanted him. But as I sat in my office, watching the sunset over Beverly Hills, I couldn't help but wonder, was I turning into someone I didn't recognize? It had been a week since I found the incriminating evidence, Ryan's illegal investments and offshore accounts, and I had already set things in motion. But it wasn't enough. No, I needed more than just a court case. I needed to make sure Ryan felt the full weight of his actions. I needed to humiliate him, strip away the image of the perfect businessman he had spent so many years building. I needed the world to know exactly who he was. A liar, a fraud, and a man who betrayed not just his wife, but everyone who ever trusted him. The idea came to me in the dead of night, a press release, a well-timed leak to the media, but not just any leak, this had to be big. Ryan had made the mistake of using his name to hide behind his wealth, his status, and his so-called good reputation. Now it was time to shatter that reputation for good. I reached out to a journalist I'd known from a few years ago, Liam Hayes, a business reporter who had written several pieces about Ryan's company in the past. Liam was ambitious, always looking for the next big story, and I knew he'd bite. I just had to make sure he understood how important this was. I met him at a bar downtown, a place Ryan and I used to frequent when we wanted to relax and pretend our lives were simpler than they were. I could almost hear the ghost of the man I used to love mocking me as I walked into that place, ready to use everything I'd learned to destroy him. Liam was already waiting when I arrived, nursing a drink as he scrolled through his phone. I took a seat across from him, my heart racing. I had been here before, talking to reporters and playing the role of a gracious wife. But tonight, I wasn't here to be gracious. Tonight, I was here to make a deal. "You know, Rachel," Liam said with a sly grin, "I always wondered if there was more to your marriage than what the public saw. You and Ryan, the perfect couple. But there's always a story behind the picture, right?" I smiled thinly. "There's always more than meets the eye, Liam. I have a story, a big one, and I think you might want to hear it." He leaned in, intrigued. "Go on." I didn't hesitate. "Ryan Owens. You think he's a successful businessman, don't you? The charming, self-made entrepreneur who built everything from scratch. What if I told you he's been hiding something? What if I told you he's been using his company to funnel money into illegal investments? That he's been lying to everyone, from his investors to his employees, while secretly siphoning funds into offshore accounts?" Liam's eyes widened. I had him. "Are you serious?" he asked, his voice lowering to a whisper. "I have proof. Bank statements, contracts, the whole thing. All I need is for you to do your job." Liam hesitated, running his fingers over the glass of whiskey in front of him. This could be huge. But why are you telling me this?" I stared him down. "Because Ryan deserves to pay for what he's done to me and to everyone else he's deceived. This isn't just about the money, Liam. This is about making sure the world knows the truth." Liam was silent for a long moment, considering the weight of what I was offering. He knew this could be his big break, but he also knew it would come with consequences. Finally, he spoke. "All right, Rachel, I'll take the story, but I need everything you've got, the proof, the details, all of it." I smiled, knowing I had him hooked. "You'll get it all, but trust me, Liam, this will be the biggest story of your career." By the time I left that bar, I felt the weight of my decision settle in. This wasn't just a legal fight anymore. This was a war where I wasn't just going to win, I was going to make sure Ryan never recovered. I wasn't just taking back my life, I was going to expose him for the fraud he really was. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. I handed over all the documents to Liam, every contract, every transaction, every damning piece of evidence that would tie Ryan to his illegal activities. I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction every time I sent another email, another file, knowing that it was all going to come crashing down on Ryan. And then the day came, the day I had been waiting for. The leak hit the headlines like a bombshell. Business tycoon Ryan Owens under investigation for illegal investments and financial fraud. The title was everywhere. The front page of the business section splashed across every news outlet. I watched in real time as the news spread like wildfire. Ryan's world was starting to unravel. The phone calls, the messages, they all started coming in at once. People who had once looked up to him, worked with him, trusted him, they were all calling, asking questions, demanding answers. The media was relentless. They wanted the truth. They wanted the scandal. They wanted to expose the man who had deceived them all. But even as Ryan's empire began to crumble, something else happened, something I didn't expect. As the world turned against him, I began to feel a strange emptiness. Sure, I was getting my revenge. Ryan deserved every ounce of what was coming his way. But deep down, there was something unsettling about how easily it all came together. The public humiliation, the betrayal, it was all unfolding just as I'd planned. But the more I saw Ryan's public disgrace, the more I realized that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't going to be the sweet victory I'd envisioned. I sat in my living room, watching the news, as Ryan's face flashed across the screen. The news anchor was reading the latest developments in his case, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of closure. But then my phone rang. It was Ryan. I let it ring twice before I picked up. "You did it, didn't you?" he said, his voice hoarse, exhausted. "I did," I replied. "You think I would. You think I'd just let you walk away with everything." "You think this is over, Rachel," he spat. "You think you've won. You've ruined me. You've taken everything from me." "You took everything from me first," I said coldly, hanging up the phone. "What would you do if your whole life was turned upside down by someone you trusted? Do you think my revenge is justified? Or am I going too far? Let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you do when the man who ruined your life comes crawling back, begging for mercy? That's the question I asked myself as I stared at the phone screen, watching Ryan's name flash in front of me. The very man who had tried to take everything from me, the man who'd broken my heart and thought he could walk away without consequence, was now calling me in desperation. The irony wasn't lost on me. But I wasn't ready to listen, not yet. It's funny how quickly things change. One minute, you're a broken woman trying to pick up the pieces of your shattered life. The next minute, you're holding all the cards, and Ryan had no idea what he was walking into. I'd spent the past few days watching as everything he'd built crumbled before him. The press releases, the leaks, the phone calls, it all came crashing down. I could see the panic in his eyes, even from a distance. He thought he could take everything from me, but now it was my turn. I wasn't going to stop until I had everything back and more. But Ryan was desperate, and desperate people do dangerous things. The phone rang again. This time I didn't hesitate, I answered. "Rachel," Ryan's voice was strained, almost pleading. "You don't know what this is doing to me. I'm losing everything. Please, I'll do anything, just please stop." I almost laughed, the audacity of him. He thought that after everything he'd put me through, I'd suddenly have a change of heart, that I'd show him mercy. No, I wasn't going to be the woman he left behind. I wasn't going to be the woman who begged for him to stay. "I told you, Ryan," I said, my voice calm, controlled. "This is your doing, not mine. You've built your life on lies, and now you have to face the consequences. But I'm not interested in saving you, not anymore." There was a pause on the other end of the line. I could almost hear him trying to regain his composure, but it was too late. The man I thought I knew was already lost. "Rachel," he said, his voice breaking. "I messed up, I know I did. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you until it was too late. I'm sorry. Can't we just fix this, please? I'll give you everything you want, just don't do this." I felt a twinge of something deep inside, a small flicker of regret. But it was fleeting. I knew better than to let my emotions get in the way now. "You want to fix this?" I replied, leaning back in my chair, watching the city lights flicker outside the window. "You can't fix this, Ryan. You don't get to play the victim now. You don't get to come back and expect forgiveness after everything you've done. You had your chance, and you threw it away." But as the conversation ended, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. Ryan wasn't going to give up so easily. I knew him better than that. And as much as I wanted to see him suffer, I also knew that the real victory wasn't just watching him fall. It was making sure he stayed down. The following days were a blur. The media frenzy intensified as more details of Ryan's illegal dealings came to light. People he'd once trusted, business partners, investors, even his closest friends, were all turning on him. He was losing everything: his reputation, his company, his wealth. It was beautiful in a way, watching him get what he deserved. But it wasn't enough. I needed to finish what I'd started. I needed to ensure that Ryan wouldn't be able to pick up the pieces of his life. He tried to take everything from me, so now I was going to take everything from him. And I wasn't going to stop until I had no more use for him. I called Sophia Grant late one night. "I'm going to take him down for good," I said, my voice steady. "I have everything I need. I want to make sure Ryan never gets back up." Sophia's response was immediate. "Are you sure you want to go this far? You've already exposed him. You've made your point." I paused for a moment, the weight of my decision sinking in. "No, I'm not just exposing him, I'm taking everything. I want him to understand what it feels like to have it all slip away, to lose it all." Sophia was quiet for a beat, then she said, "All right, Rachel, let's do this." The next morning, I started working on the final part of my plan. I had everything I needed: the documents, the evidence, the story. Now it was time to bring everything to light in one explosive move. I reached out to Liam Hayes, the journalist who had helped me expose Ryan's crimes. We were about to give the public the full truth. Everything Ryan had tried so hard to hide. Together, we crafted the perfect article, one that would destroy his last shred of dignity. We were going to expose the extent of his lies, the manipulations, the deceit. He wouldn't be able to hide anymore. There would be no place left for him to run. The article dropped the following afternoon. "Ryan Owens, the man who had it all until he lost it all." The headline was everywhere. It was more than just a business exposé. It was a complete and utter dismantling of Ryan's life. The article didn't just cover his financial crimes, it covered everything. His affair with Emily, his manipulation of people around him, his lies to investors, clients, and most of all me. I sat back and watched as the article went viral. The flood of phone calls, messages, and emails from people Ryan had wronged came pouring in. His business partners were furious. His employees were scared. The very people who once supported him were now asking questions. Ryan had finally been exposed, and the public humiliation was far worse than I could have ever imagined. But that's when the final twist came. Just as I thought I had won, Ryan made a move I never expected. He reached out to me again. This time, he wasn't begging for forgiveness. He wasn't trying to play the victim. No, this time he was angry, furious. "I'll make sure you regret this, Rachel." His voice crackled through the phone. "You think you've won, don't you? You think you've beaten me, but you have no idea what you've just done." I smiled. "Oh, I know exactly what I've done, Ryan. I've made sure you'll never walk away from this. You've lost everything. Your reputation, your business, your freedom. And now you'll never get it back." There was silence on the other end of the line before he spoke again, his voice cold and dangerous. "You don't know who you're messing with. I'll be back." I hung up the phone and exhaled, feeling the weight of his words hang in the air. Was he serious? Did he really think he could come back from this? Thank you for watching this video. Please remember to like this video, share your thought, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos like this.